Today I asked ChatGPT to give me 10 questions all regarding lenses, so I'm gonna answer that and give some of my opinion. First question, do expensive lenses actually make your image look more cinematic? Well, I'm gonna say yes and no at the same time. Yes, because there is a reason why they cost what they cost. If you're using some fancy Cooke or other glass, you're gonna get benefits that come with it, whether that's the sharpness, the look, the fall off, all the different characteristics that come with such lenses. However, no, because at the end of the day, your lens choice is just a small part of what makes image look cinematic. Most importantly, I would say it's your taste and your ability to maintain a visual language over a period of time. Are prime lenses really better than zooms? Well, here we go, another classic. No, they aren't. They're just different tool for different job. Prime lenses, what you're looking at is sharpness, it's a characteristic of a look, it's better corrections of aberrations, of flares and things like that. Whereas when you go into zooms, you are looking at versatility, you're obviously looking at the capability to zoom, to rack zoom, or to be just flexible on a quick and fast-paced day where you don't have time to be switching primes. Do vintage lenses have magic, or is it mostly nostalgia? I would say they definitely have a look, they have their own quirks oftentimes, just different characteristics. Usually they will flare up much easier, they will have less coatings or worse coatings, so they're gonna have lower contrast, they're gonna have less sharpness, they're gonna have vignette things, they're gonna have different distortions, and when used right, that might seem like magic, but it's just, again, right tool for the right job. Is sharpness overrated in filmmaking? Yes, I would say so, but also it depends what do we consider filmmaking. If we're talking about films and movies, yes, it is definitely overrated. Most of your favorite movies are probably far from sharp, and in fact they are most likely filmed on a lot of glass that is old and vintage or purposely detuned to create a certain character of an image. However, when you go to genres like sports or journalism, that's where sharpness is a lot more of a value. When you go to events and things where you're trying to document something, the sharpness has a lot more value because oftentimes you're pushing your cameras to the maximum, you're cropping in, you are shooting in less than ideal scenarios, and if you do have a lens that performs better, you end up with a more usable image after all those things. Can one lens become your entire visual style? It totally can, and I think it's a great practice to give yourself some limitations in general to get more into one particular thing, such as one focal length. However, I wouldn't say one lens will become your visual style for your entire career, because inevitably you're gonna have to shoot wider, longer, somewhere in the mid-range. And I think it's a great practice to give yourself even a year to shoot everything personal to on, let's say, 35 or 50 or 28 or something like that, and really learn to see through that focal length. For example, when I started with this, I bought 35, and that's what I had for like 5 months. Then I ended up buying 85 because I wanted to have something on the opposite side of the range. And for, I would say, a year, I was just shooting everything on these two lenses, and then I slowly ended up adding more and more as I found the need. So yes, it can be, it shouldn't be for the entire career, but I think everybody will have their sweet spot lens at some point, and that comes from practice, and that comes from just spending time with the focal lengths and really learning about yourself, how you like to see through the camera. Are fast lenses f1.2, f1.4 actually useful, or just flex pieces? I don't think they're flex pieces. I think they're very useful, especially when you need a lot of light. And I think there is another point of view to this. whenever you buy that, say, 1.4 glass from your favorite brand. Photography, autofocus lenses or cine lenses, not only you're gonna be able to introduce more light in your image and have shallower depth of field, but usually that is the top of the line of the lens, and that is a lot more valuable thing, the glass itself, when it's stopped down to any aperture, than the wide open f1.4, because you're not gonna shoot at it as much as you think most of the time. And yeah, the benefit really is in having a solid glass with its own characteristics and quirks, as opposed to just locking it at 1.4 and shooting everything like that. Do audiences care about lens character more than lighting and composition? I don't think so. I don't think they really know what they care about. I think they care about being connected to the story, being connected with the emotions, and just being immersed in the piece of content or movie that they are watching, and that matters more than anything else. On the other hand, that is achieved through a combination of these three and more things and skills from the cinematography standpoint. Is the 50mm lens overrated? No, it's not. If anything, I think it's underrated. Many people try to skip the 50 because it's the most boring one, it's the most easy and usually the cheapest lens to buy at the beginning of your career. So you want something more flashy, more fancy, but understanding how 50 works and how it connects to wider end of the spectrum or the tighter ones is really important for anyone. Would most filmmakers be happier with just 2 lenses? I think so. Actually, I think so. Having owned a lot of lenses, having used a lot of lenses, if someone points a gun at my head and tells me you need to choose 2 lenses for the rest of your life, I'll be able to make that choice. Is the lens choice more emotional than technical? I think it's a combination of the two, and with a third one added to it. I think most of the lens choices is or should be made by the right amount of creative requirements combined with the technical. So creative being, does it achieve the look we would like to have? Technical is, does it make sense for a given project? And will it be actually functional in our particular setup? And the third one being the budget, can we afford to have these lenses? So when you get the right mix of the answers for these 3, you get your answer for this question. Oh, and that's it. That's gonna do it for today's practice of me talking to a camera. Some of these questions were actually quite nice. I hope there is a little bit of value for whoever ends up watching this. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you tomorrow.